Look in the book of John, the 3rd chapter, the first few verses. It reads, "There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Jesus by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from God, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest except God be with him. And Jesus answered and said unto Nicodemus, Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. And Nicodemus said unto Jesus, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? In our broadcast, inshallah, next week, we will talk about the womb in which the Caucasian was formed and out of which this people came to birth. Satan has produced a world that is so adverse that the wickedness of his world is destroying him. And he is looking now for a way out. This is the way Satan is thinking right now. Remember that God or scientist that couldn't get the people to speak the same dialect, was frustrated and angry and disappointed, and decided he would kill everybody on the planet, including himself? Did you know that these same or similar words have been spoken by the leaders in Israel? That before they lose, or before Israel is destroyed, they will take the whole world down with them. They have atomic weapons, and America certainly does, and that thinking is in some of the satanic minds in America. They can kill everybody on the earth several times over. Yes, they're thinking, if I'm going to lose power, if I'm going to lose the ability to rule the planet, if I'm going to be destroyed by God, I am going to take everybody down with me. Of course, they're thinking like this, but they won't be able to do it. But some of us are like that too, on a much smaller level. Some of us have become possessed with power, and some of us get possessed of a man or a woman. If I can't have him, nobody's going to get him. I'll kill him and myself first. Another one will say, she ain't leaving me. I'll kill her, then myself. This is insanity. But when one is frustrated, when their hopes are dashed, when they are greatly disappointed, that is a great trial on our rational mind. So those of you who are listening to this broadcast, whenever you feel disappointment, that's the time you must reach for the Creator to give you balance, because at that moment of insanity, you may hurt yourself and others as well. You may ask, what makes people like that? What drives people like that? This frustration and disappointment that our desires were not realized? There's a writer named Michael Bradley in his book titled The Iceman Inheritance. He raises questions about his own white race. He states, why are we like this? Of the aggressive and destructive acts of the Caucasians, Michael Bradley writes, much effort has been expended in attempts to make sense of our own apparently senseless behavior. I propose, he writes, that the white race possesses an atypical level of aggression. What is the definition of atypical? It's an adjective that means unusual, untypical, uncommon, unconventional, unorthodox, irregular, abnormal, anomalous, aberrant, and deviant. It is in the sphere of abnormal violence that we Caucasoids excel among races. Mr. Bradley writes, "It is this kind of violence that makes our history appear senseless to other men and senseless and even baffling to ourselves. The Caucasoid, uniquely among the races of mankind, evolved in a glacial or cold environment." He suggests that scarcity of resources and survival of day-to-day cave life is what caused Caucasians to become so aggressive. He writes, "This group of men did develop in a narrow zone of life between fire and ice, between the cave fires and the savage cold. These special adaptations had incidental side effects which resulted in an exceptionally aggressive psychology, an extreme expression of the Cronus complex, and a higher level of psychosexual conflict." What did he mean, Cronus complex? It is mainly derived from the Greek verb krans. It means to exercise sway, to reign over, to govern, to rule. So the Cronus complex has to do with one who has this inordinate need to exercise sway, to reign over, to govern, a feeling of entitlement to rule. This is in the nature of the Caucasian people. And this comes back again to the Holy Quran. "I'm going to place a ruler in the earth." So if he's going to place him in the earth, he also has to place in this ruler what is called the Cronus complex, that idea or thought that he is to be the ruler until the coming of God to interfere with his rule. And that's why it's so difficult for white people to submit to any ruler other than himself. Now, psychosexual conflict is attributed to Sigmund Freud, who developed its theory of how sexuality starts from a very young age and develops various fixations. If these stages are not physiologically completed and released, they can be trapped by them, and they may lead to various defense mechanisms to avoid the anxiety from the conflict at that stage. The reason why this is so important, he talks about when you go to look at European history, particularly one of the best examples is a Roman ruler known as Caligula. Their whole worship was in phallic symbols, sex organs, orgies, and the drive of sex. What created this psychosexual drive? When we study the womb out of which the Caucasian came, he'll gain a better understanding of himself, and we also will gain a better understanding of him and a better understanding of how he has made us like himself. U.S. Senator James Ingalls from Kansas in 1890, was speaking to the president. Listen to his words. Mr. President, the race to which we belong is the most arrogant and rapacious, the most exclusive and indomitable in history. It is the conquering and the unconquerable race through which alone man has taken possession of the physical and moral world. All other races have been its enemies or its victims. Rapacious means destructive and vicious, engaging in violent pillaging and likely to harm or destroy things. An author and a Southerner named Gerald W. Johnson in 1964 wrote, "Of all the creatures to appear on this earth, the white man is the fiercest by far." John A. Hobson, an author, wrote on imperialism, and he writes, "An actual history of Western relations with lower races occupying lands on which we have settled throws then a curious light upon the theory of a trust for civilization. When the settlement approaches the condition of genuine colonization, it has commonly implied the extermination of the lower races, either by war or by private slaughter, as in the case of Australian Bushmen, African Bushmen, Hottentots, Red Indians and Maoris, or the Aborigines of Australia, or by forcing upon them the habits of a civilization equally destructive to them. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "For every 1,000 years of the white race's existence on our planet, they have killed 100 million people of color for every 1,000 years. So in 6,000 years, they have killed nearly 1 billion people of color. And now, according to what we have read from Mr. Kissinger, they intend to cull the population of our planet by from 2 to 3 billion people. These are the bloodshedders of our planet." Well, those of the lower races tend to disappear, this man writes, who are incapable of profitable exploitation by the superior white settlers, either because they are too savage for effective industrialism or because the demand for labor does not require their presence. Are you looking for a job? Are you too savage for effective industrialism, or because the demand for labor does not require your presence? Are we going to Washington to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington? And are we 50 years later going to still be begging government, seeking jobs and justice? Mr. Hobson continues, "Whenever superior races settle on lands where lower races can be profitably used for manual labor in agriculture, mining, and domestic work, the latter do not tend to die out, but to form a servile class. This is the case not only in tropical countries where white men cannot form real colonies, working and rearing families with safety and efficiency, and where hard manual work, if done at all, must be done by colored men. But even in countries where white men can settle, as in parts of South Africa and of the southern portion of the United States, this servile state of being is our lot. As we entered these countries for trade, So we stay there for industrial exploitation, directing to our own profitable purposes the compulsory labor of the lower races. This is the root fact of imperialism, so far as it relates to the control of inferior races. When the latter are not killed out, they are subjected by force to the ends of their white superiors. A female author, Ryan Eisler, wrote, asking the question in her book, The Chalice and the Blade, why do we hunt and persecute each other? Why is our world so full of man's infamous inhumanity to man and to woman? How can human beings be so brutal to their own kind? What is it that chronically tilts us toward cruelty rather than kindness, toward war rather than peace, toward destruction rather than actualization? You become frustrated. You become disappointed. And in that disappointment, you don't handle it well, and it drives you to insanity, and then you want to kill someone. Well, that is how the devil is made. This world is in such terrible condition that its present rulers are at their wits' end to solve the problems that their wickedness has created. They are 100% dissatisfied with their own world because of the evil effect of their mischief-making and bloodshedding and what it is now bringing upon them. Next week, inshallah, we'll take up the subject of how this devil is made and the divine purpose for his making. In the book of John, Jesus is having not even a conversation with the Jews of his day, but a dialogue. And they are claiming that they are from Abraham. And Jesus, in his argument toward them, said, if you were Abraham's seed, you would do the works of Abraham. The Quran says Abraham was not a Jew nor a Christian. He appeared long before the Torah was in existence and long before the Injil or the Gospel was in existence. So what was the religion of Abraham? And why does the Quran says, he who rejects the religion of Abraham is he who makes a fool of himself? Abraham was a righteous man, an upright man, and he was not of the polytheists. Well, Jesus, in that argument, as it progressed, they said, we are from God. God is our Father. And Jesus said, if God were your Father, you would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. But now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth. Then Jesus fired at them, saying, I know you. You are of your father, the devil. And the lust of your father you shall do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and a liar, and when he speaketh a lie, for he is the father of lies. if it is the will of Allah, next week we will show how in the womb of the making of this new people on our planet, lie was bred into the nature and also murder. Have you noticed that there was a time that black people could find refuge in France? Many musicians and entertainers went there, and the French saw them as a novelty, and they felt as though they were really accepted more than they were accepted in their own countries. Do you remember after colonialism died, many of those that England colonized began to move to England, and at first it was a novelty. Here are brothers and sisters from the former colonies in the Caribbean, from the former colonies in Africa, from the former colonies in Asia and the isles of the Pacific. Yes, and you were accepted. What's happening today? As Caucasians begin to feel threatened, and their security is compromised, the mask of civility comes off, and then you see murder coming out of their hearts and their eyes. It is the same in France. It is the same in Belgium. It is the same in Norway and Sweden and Finland and Denmark. It is the same in Germany and in Russia. All over our planet, the hatred of black is manifesting. Even among our Arab brothers. Remember when we said that after Yaqub made his people and sent them back to the Holy Land, within 6 months they had turned the Holy Land upside down. And so we rounded up all that we could find and drove them out into the hills and cave sides of Europe. The cold caves, the fierce and savage existence fighting for food. They became closer to the animals. That is what the word savage means. A savage, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, is a person that has lost the knowledge of themselves and is living a beast life. Now let's come home and look in the inner cities of America. The coldness of the inner cities that is called the ghetto. Look at how cold and heartless we have become toward one another. We can't go from one block or two to another block because there's a gang in this block that hates the gang in that block, and so we are afraid to move. This is happening not just in America, in the inner cities. It's happening in Bermuda. It's happening in the Caribbean. It's happening in Africa. This is social engineering at its worst. And that is why in the scriptures of John, when he talked to Nicodemus about being born again, in that same chapter, it says, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up. Now in the Arab and Muslim world, there's bloodshed, and more bloodshed is coming. Prophet Muhammad would be very displeased seeing Muslims killing each other because of the interference of the mischief maker and the bloodshedder, and you have not figured it out yet. There was peace in Iraq under Saddam Hussein. Shia, Sunni, Christians, and Jews living together in peace until America came. Now every day there's a killing. Shia killing Sunni, Sunni killing Shia. Look at what's happening in Syria. The rebels are losing that fight. And this is why a nerve gas was introduced into the conflict. America says, and President Obama said, Syria has crossed the red line. But Russia said, no, no, no. It was not the Syrian authorities that used such weapon. It was put in the hands of the rebels, and they used it to force American troops to come in to topple the Assad regime. But I understand the Senate and the House of Representatives have stopped America from sending weapons to the rebels. In Egypt today, did you think that Mr. Morsi was just overthrown by some dissatisfied Egyptians and America's hand was not involved? America is the mischief maker. America is the bloodshedder. You never did want an Islamic government to come to Egypt. You were shocked when Morsi became the president of Egypt, and the Muslim Brotherhood then became the political power in Egypt. I heard a commentator said that Morsi and the Brotherhood won 3 elections. They won the first election free and fair in a democratically favored election. They made a constitution that was voted on by the overwhelming majority of the people. They won 3 times. But America did not like that Islamists would be in a position of political power. So underneath all of this, now Egypt is in a mess, and so is the Middle East. I read today that President Obama is separated from Karzai in Afghanistan and is going to leave Afghanistan in a mess. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, these are Sunni Muslims. But you are taking the side of America in their dislike of Islam, but they put Sunni against Shia. What would the Holy Prophet say if he saw Muslims who bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, slaughtering each other to the joy of the West? Yes, Satan is loose on our planet, but his time is short. But he did not spring from nothing. He sprung from a weakness in us. So next week, inshallah, part 2 of Why Did God Make Devil? and to all of my brothers and sisters in this great Twitter army. May Allah continue to bless you. Let us increase our numbers all across the globe, and let all of us learn how to use the social media in an intelligent way and get into serious discourse with the people, whether they agree or disagree. Even if they're hostile, you don't have to be hostile, because God has given to us an invincible truth.
Every Thursday night the vibe is set. Brother Leo and Sister Claudia, you won't forget. They're bringing truth, they're bringing light. Tune in, let them spark your mind tonight. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. They talk that talk, they walk the walk, breaking it down, no need for small talk. Wisdom flying like the eagle's soar. You'll leave with more than you came here for. Open your heart, let your mind expand. Feel the rhythm, take a stand. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. Open your heart, let your mind expand. Feel the rhythm, take a stand. The Imagination Show. Oh, every Thursday let it flow. Oh, Brother Leo, Sister Claudia, in the glow. It's the place to be, you already know. Soulful voices on the air, breaking barriers everywhere. Turn it up, don't let it fade. Thursday nights are tailor-made. On the air, breaking barriers everywhere. Turn it up, don't let it fade. Thursday nights are tailor-made.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I greet you, my dear beloved brothers and sisters in the Imagination family, in the greeting words of peace. We say it in Arabic. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Welcome, 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 dear beloved family, to another episode of the Image and Nation show. My name is Brother Leo Muhammad, and sitting alongside me is my beloved wife and dear friend, Sister Claudia Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved.
And you there shoveling me along.
Yes.
Is that better?
Praise be to Allah. That's a lot better.
Okay, praise be to Allah.
I don't like the angle of this camera, to be honest with you. Just 1 second.
That's all right on camera.
Just 1 second, family. See if that's a little bit better. I prefer that.
Okay.
Like that. Praise be
to Allah.
to Allah. Well, family, welcome. Here we are again, by the grace and mercy of Allah. We have a show for you today that, you know, comes out of more pain for the Black community in the UK and globally. It comes out of more pain for a family of our people. It comes out of the loss of an individual who has been a part of the dominant news cycle for a couple of weeks now that this has been going on already. And we just thought it was important that we addressed it, not because we necessarily want to be a part of that news cycle, but because it's very, very important from the perspective of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to really try to give an insight into a lot of these things that happen, as opposed to, being out there, being outraged and just guessing and conjecturing as to why do these things happen? Why do they keep on happening? How, and really just being a part of the confusion, as opposed to having some inkling, some idea, some understanding of the reality of what we are looking at. And so that's the perspective that we want to come from on the Imagination Show. And as always, I don't intend to be very long, inshallah, but we're going to try to get into it and try to bring some light as it relates to this particular issue. So I hope everybody is good. As always, beloved, I really want to encourage you to call a family member, a loved one, somebody that you care about. Let them know that the Imagination Show is live right now on Zoom and also on YouTube. And don't forget, family, I can see, we got quite a few people on right now, but the likes, you haven't hit that like button. So please don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Be a part of the Imagination family as we go forward deeper and deeper into the 21st century, really trying to utilize the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, really trying to use these invincible teachings to help us to survive, to help us to get through the dark hour, which is rapidly descending on this world of the Caucasian, this world really of wickedness. And so our subject today is entitled The High-Tech Lynching of Jason ARDAY. The High-Tech Lynching of Jason ARDAY. Today, family, is Thursday, August the 20th, and this is episode 247 of the Image and Nation Show. And the idea behind the Imagination show is to promote, to encourage this redevelopment, this reanimation of the faculty, this powerful faculty that resides within the human being, within the human mind, called imagination. It is a fantastic faculty given to us by Almighty God Allah, whereby whatever it is that we can imagine, whatever it is that we can see, whatever it is that we can look at in our mind's eye, we can bring it into reality. We just have to learn how to focus on, bringing into existence that which we desire to see. And so, dear family, that's our purpose. And we want to look at this story, which, as I said, has been unfolding. And I'm not going to be long, not going to be long, inshallah. But we want to just look into this because it's quite disturbing what has happened. But again, I believe that we should really have a true understanding of what it is that we're looking at. And so here we have, you'll see in a moment, this first video. Here we have the well-known racist and white supremacist by the name of David Starkey interviewing the racist and white supremacist Nathan Kofnas. Nathan Kofnas, who is the demon responsible for starting the false claims of plagiarism, and the two of them boasting to have brought down what they call the monster of DEI at Cambridge University. DEI meaning the safeguarding measure of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is, one of these newfangled programs that have been introduced into many governmental bodies in the West based on, the mistreatment, historical mistreatment of Black people. And so DEI is something that was introduced and it's created tremendous controversy. But nevertheless, it's for the safeguarding measure, and which it's meant to ensure equal rights for all people, not just Black people, and to prevent disadvantages based on race, especially in the workplace. But, and again, institutional racism historically has meant that Black people have been discriminated against across the board, and especially when it comes to employment and getting decent jobs and decent housing and, suffering disproportionately in the criminal justice system. And we could go on and on and on. So that's what DEI is supposed to help to rectify. But according to these racists, these two that you are about to watch and listen to, according to them, the real meaning of DEI is not diversity, equity, and inclusion. The real meaning of DEI is the unfair promotion of Black people who are unqualified for the position or role to which they were appointed. Case in point, now we're talking about the late Jason ARDAY, who was found dead at his home last Friday after a relentless media onslaught and a witch hunt culminating in over 188 newspaper articles against him and amounting to nothing less than what I call a high-tech lynching. Back in the day, they would string us up on trees, they would burn us at the stake, they would do all manner of wicked things in order to eliminate us as a people. And, this was a matter of course when these people determined or deemed that, one of us should be hung, drawn and quartered, tarred and feathered. They did all of these things. I'm not making stuff up. These are things that we have experienced as a people over many, many years. But today, they can use the modern technology of the communication network and systems, and in particular, they use their modern media to lynch black people. So we're going to get into this, family, and you can follow along and see if what is being done and what is being said is the truth.
Hello and welcome to David Starkey Talks. And today I'm delighted to be talking to a chap, if I dare call him that, who is very much in the news, Nathan Kofnas, the David. I'm a David, but this is a real David, a hero who brought down the monster of DEI at Cambridge. Nathan, we have a
And when you listen to a lot of these right wingers, these white supremacist people, you see the way they will try to they'll even try to utilize scripture, because all of a sudden now, this little worm of a man has become David. You understand, David who brought down Goliath, but now he wants to say that this David is this hero who has brought down the monster of DEI. So a program that was put in place to prevent the disadvantaged black people and discrimination, unfair discrimination of black people, is described by this avowed white supremacist as a monster. It's just really important to, really listen to the words that these people use, because oftentimes they reveal who they really are when they open their mouth in their condemnation of black people.
who brought down the monster of DEI at Cambridge. Nathan, we have a lot in common. We both have lots of degrees. They happen to be real ones, but shall we abandon them and just call each other Nathan? The other thing we've got in common, just so everybody understands.
Did you hear what he said? Their degrees happen to be real ones, because again, this is a slight trying to really diminish and ridicule the degrees that were earned by Jason ARDAY, because this is what this whole thing is about, how they have relentlessly attacked this young man to the point, literally, of his destruction.
The reason we are both grinning is that we are enjoying vengeance. Good, honest, straightforward, and Christian vengeance. Cambridge spat you out after a couple of years.
So let me just, I don't want to be disingenuous. I don't want to give the impression, because obviously many of you will know now that our brother Jason ARDAY is now dead. Okay, we just mentioned it in what we've written here on the screen. So I don't want to give the impression that this was done after his death. This was done prior to his death, while the campaign of hatred against him was continuing. So I don't want you to think that they know that he's already died and they're mocking that. No, they're mocking the fact that they are involved in the campaign that's absolutely brutally attempting to destroy this young man. And that's the context in which they're now speaking. But I'm not suggesting that once they find out that he's dead, that any of this nasty, filthy expression would change. But I'm just, making sure that I'm not giving a false impression that this was actually being said after the fact of his untimely death.
Grinning is that we are enjoying vengeance. Good, honest, straightforward, and Christian vengeance. Cambridge spat you out after a couple of years. It spat me out after 56. You were a junior research associate of a college. I was, I think, senior honorary fellow. You were spat out over 2 articles. I was spat out over a word. So we can rejoice together. Can we begin then? We're going to talk about ARDAY, obviously, the man that you brought down and that you deserve enormous credit. And by the way, the other thing that deserves credit is what we're doing now. talking online. The world of X and the world of the social media broke this story. If it had been left to the mainstream media, and especially the BBC, who has been throughout ARDAY's most ardent patron and defender, none of this would have happened.
And, you know, again, these
Hello
people,
and welcome to David Starkey Talks.
one second.
And today I'm delighted.
And these people are they're so warped that all one of their own has to do is not necessarily go along with their outright racism. And then that element, be it the BBC or any other institution that doesn't outright go along with their hatred of black people, then all of a sudden that institution becomes the enemy because, you know, they're not, quote unquote, on expressing the same virulent hatred that is being espoused by these people. And you know, this is just like so revealing when you listen to this. I mean, I don't even know what to call this person, but when you listen to what comes out of their mouth, then you should begin to really understand what Jason Harday has been up against, and the fact that they are celebrating his resignation because the brother just really couldn't take. In fact, I've got a couple of notes that I wrote. I want to quote what he said. So I've got a note here. Jason Harday resigned from Cambridge on the 5th of August, 2026, writing that he had reached the limits of what any person should reasonably be expected to endure, you know, because of what he was facing from the British so-called media. He got to a point where he just couldn't take it, and hence why he resigned. And again, over the years on the Imagination show, we've pointed out so many times this pattern, and we've shown, you know, like with our sister, what's her name, the MP, the black MP, who was expelled from the Labour Party, Diane Abbott. You know, when Diane Abbott was crucified in the media for being some type of racist, for just telling the truth about the difference between Jews and black people, and that these so-called Jews, these European Jews, they don't suffer every single day walking down the road from racism in the manner in which black people have, what we've had to endure over not decades but centuries of this type of thing. And then, you know, then she was forced to apologize and then expelled from the Labour Party, suspended, and have the whip removed and all kinds of stuff. And we spend so much time talking about Diane Abbott, spend so much time trying to placate and appease these rabid racists and trying to force ourselves into their systems and into their societies. And no wonder they treat us in the manner in which they do, because that's part of the problem, family, unfortunately. We are trying to be a part of their world, and in reality, they don't want us in their world. They want us in insofar as we can be used to benefit them, but when it comes to benefiting ourselves, benefit our family, benefiting our nation, no, that's not the reason why they want us in their society. They want us in the society only if it's beneficial to them and actually detrimental to us, detrimental to the very one who they are reaping and seeking benefit from. I mean, because again, you know, you're oftentimes the mistake that we make is that we like to judge these people based on ourselves. You see, so we are thinking about some equity, we're thinking about some give and take. You've got it all wrong, brothers and sisters. There's no such thing with these people. There's no give and take. There's no equity. It's all about them. It's all about take, 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 give nothing. In fact, in our teachings, in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Supreme Wisdom, the question is asked, why do we love the devil? And the answer is we love the devil because he gives us nothing. And then black people, as I've mentioned before in the Imagination Show, some of us then even went on to write songs like I've got plenty of nothing and nothing's plenty for me. We became a people who literally would be happy to have nothing while our enemy has everything. So he builds a whole world on our backs, or we build it for him. And we're happy just to be at the foot of the rich man's table. See, picking up crumbs. This has to stop, man. Dear family, historically, the false idea of white supremacy and black inferiority has been promoted in white Western European academia. That's what, when you're running into these so-called higher schools of learning, these universities and these colleges, and you're going after these degrees and whatever, you are running into a buzzsaw of hate and wickedness. And again, I've said it before, when you see black people who go through these systems and they come out and they're excelling in some degree or another, that's not because that system was set up to make a black person successful, to qualify them in anything. That's just the genius of the black mind, the black heart, the black spirit, that we are able to survive in hostile territory and hostile environments. But make no mistake about it, you was never meant to succeed in that type of environment. Hence why anytime any of us make it to any level or any degree within their systems, it's something that's literally has to be highlighted. The first Negro, the first black person to achieve this or to achieve that, because it actually is remarkable when it happens, because it's not meant to happen. You see, yet it keeps happening because that's who we are. You understand? We are that cream that always rises to the top. It doesn't matter, you shake up that milk, put it down, once it settles, the cream always rises back to the top. That's who we are. We are the cream of the crop, dear beloved brothers and sisters. And so, as I said, historically, the false idea of white supremacy and black inferiority has been promoted in white Western European academia ever since the Greeks and the Romans came to the realization that black people were in fact the gods and the originators of everything. Do you understand that at a certain point, Europeans realized who we were? The Greeks would come into Egypt and sit at our feet to study, and we would teach them. But we weren't teaching them and they were thinking, oh, wow, let's honor and respect these people. No, they had something else in mind. Dear family, when they realized that we were in fact the gods and the originators of everything, and the nature of them and what their father Yakub had engineered into their making was triggered by the Cronus complex. I hope you were listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan a few minutes ago, because my goodness, just that little 30-minute clip that we played, family, that clip is so full, especially in explanation of the nature of the people that we are dealing with and how they come to be who they are. But I wonder how many of us were actually listening. Triggered by the Cronus complex, which is also related to the wicked characteristic of envy. The Cronus complex and the wicked characteristic of envy is one and the same. And remember, envy is the mother of murder, according to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us. When you are envious of another person, you really want to murder them because you believe that they have something that really ought to belong to you. I mean, it's a really sick characteristic, envy. Dear family, the people suffering from Cronus complex feel envious and jealous of other people's achievements. That should have been me. I should have been the one. If you listen to David Starkey just now talking about how they were spat out of Cambridge University, how they were dismissed from Cambridge University, but now this ARDAY, this Jason ARDAY, this young black man has been accepted into the fold, and now he's saying we're taking revenge. Revenge. See? And he's laughing about it, and he's saying, and he even had the audacity to say unchristian revenge, as if they were ever Christian. Because a true Christian, the word Christian means one who is crystallized into oneness with Jesus Christ, following the example of Jesus Christ. Crystallized into oneness with Christ. These people are never crystallized into oneness with the Jesus of 2,000 years ago. And in particular, they're certainly not crystallized into oneness with the Christ who is present today. Dear family, the people suffering from or with Cronus complex feel envious and jealous of other people's achievements. Consequently, they look down on the people who have achieved great things, and they will set out to undermine or even destroy them mentally or physically. Any opportunity that white supremacists get to propagate the idea of the inferiority of black people will be seized upon with enthusiasm. This is what we've been observing in the British media in the build-up to the untimely death of Jason ARDAY.
So my point, or one of the points I make, is that you don't understand what would happen if we actually had a colorblind meritocracy where representation of certain groups, such as African Americans, would be decimated. It would fall, well, not just a reduction of 10%, but it would fall to 10% of what it is, or even less than that.
Can I just again ask you to just go back over?
I hope you're listening to what the devil is saying. Essentially, he's saying that if there was a fair system, if there was a meritocracy, if people were viewed based on their merits, based on their skills, based on their intelligence, based on, you know, the beauty of who each and every individual is, black people would disappear from the scene, basically, because we're just that much more inferior than everybody else. That's what he's saying in a nutshell. And I say it like that, and I point it out like that because I also, you know, I want you to listen to these. These are the people who are so quick to criticize other people, and they're almost inarticulate. They struggle to even put together sentences and words. You know, these are Englishmen. This is their language I'm speaking to them, but they can't even articulate things in a way that is straightforward and without ambiguity. Struggling to just put a basic sentence together, yet they want to claim to be superior to other people. It's really sick.
Or one of the points I make is that you don't understand what would happen if we actually had a colorblind meritocracy where representation of certain groups, such as African Americans, would be decimated. It would fall, well, not just a reduction of 10%, but it would fall to 10% of what it is.
Wow.
Even less than
Can
that.
I just again ask you to just go back over that ground and talk about evidence? You know, I'm a historian, so I'm peculiarly alert to the question of evidence. When you made that remark about the collapse of, I mean, let's take the example, the number of black students enrolled at Harvard. The evidence that you relied on was not evidence that you had produced. It was evidence that Harvard had produced. I'm correct in that, am I not?
Well, there are very few people who are capable of understanding that. The widespread view is that I made it up out of hatred for black people. In fact, it was Harvard's statistic.
And what they, just one second, again, just as we...
So, you know, again, they can never answer a straightforward question. But secondly, you see, this is now to say that it was actually Harvard's statistics that I was quoting when Harvard has rejected that idea. But again, you see, when you have Caucasians basically arguing with each other, he's arguing with Harvard, or Harvard is arguing with him, or they're arguing against Cambridge University, and Cambridge University chucked them out. See, remember, family, these are still a family where they've all really got the same ideas. It's like this thing where, you know, there are some among us who think that, oh, Biden was so much better than Donald Trump. You see, he wasn't as wicked and evil as Trump. You see, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. Trump is just a more pronounced manifestation of that same evil, that same wickedness that Biden is. But Biden is a professional politician who is trained in the art of deception and hiding what they do. Trump is a uncouth businessman who has no filter for what comes into his mind and what comes out of his mouth. But don't think that that makes Trump any worse than any of them. He is the same. They're all the same. So again, these are kind of straw man arguments when you hear, you know, well, the idea didn't originate with me. I'm just quoting Harvard statistics, you know, so that makes it more legitimate to say that if this was a colorblind society or a meritocracy, black people would disappear off the chart because we're so dumb. I mean, you know, family, honestly, you gotta listen to these people and really appreciate who and what we are dealing with.
Spell this out because it's so important we get this point clear. What Harvard did was to say, if it applied the normal entry criteria based on SATs, that kind of thing, to black students, they would fall, and I may not have got the precise figures, from 14%, is it, to 0.7?
Yeah. In the year that the study was conducted, I think blacks were like 12.5%. Now it's, and they said that if admissions were based only on grades and test scores, i.e. merit, then they would be actually a little less than 0.7%. Black, 0.67.
So in other words, again, yeah. let's as we're flattering each other, one of the things I always try to say to my students, or used to say when I had more students, was orders of magnitude. Get your orders of magnitude right, then it doesn't really matter too much about the detail of, you know, is it 0.6 or 0.7, but get that, though it's very important to understand which is the bigger, which one of your critics didn't, of course. But so in other words, Harvard itself said that there would be this catastrophic failure of, as it were, black representation at Harvard if the ordinary standards which apply to all other students, including Indians, including Japanese, including Asians, as well as whites, were applied to blacks. That's exactly what was said.
Well, they hold...
The implication being that, you know, they're doing us a favor. You see, the implication being that, again, going back to DEI, you know, blacks are being favored over and above other people because we're so inadequate, we're so dumb that they have to help us out in order for us to come up to scratch, to be, nothing could be further from the truth. You see, if there was ever an even playing field, these people could never compete with the original people, with the black people. See? And we've proved that over millennia, because they cannot, and this is why they're so hateful, because as soon as they see any black person coming into any kind of space that they don't believe that we belong, they move heaven and earth to destroy that person, to remove that person, to do whatever they can to make sure that that person cannot compete with them, because they know inherently that they cannot compete with us on an even playing field. But again, the disingenuous nature of the white supremacists, where they will try to try to fool you into believing that there are actually legitimate facts and figures, legitimate statistics that prove our inferiority. I mean, this is not new. They've been writing books for years and doing so-called scientific studies. They used to have debates as to how far removed from the primates were black people, how closely related we were to the lower animals, and how superior they were because of their cranial capacity. All lies, pseudoscience, nothing scientific that they could actually prove. One idiot wrote something called the bell curve, talking about, the inferiority, the inherent inferiority of black people. And I remember when he came to the UK and he was like a special guest of the then Prime Minister, I think was David Cameron. See, I mean, outright racist, how outright haters, but they were welcome, whilst at the same time, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a lover of truth, a lover of freedom, justice, and equality, a lover, you see, of humanity, is banned. So just understand, dear family, what it is that we are listening to and looking at. And I make no apology for playing these white supremacists so that you can hear for yourself where they're coming from. And I'll break it down so that you can understand where they are coming from and their motivations.
As well as whites were applied to blacks. That's exactly what was said.
Well, they hold each race to a different standard depending on its hierarchy and its position in the woke totem pole. So actually, if you had meritocratic admissions, the proportion of white students at Harvard would not change that much. I think it would rise by like a couple percentage points, according to.
Did you hear that? Or did you miss that? Starkey says, oh, it would fall. Kofnas says, oh no, it would rise by a couple of percentage points. And then there's no actual facts to anything that he's saying. If this was a true meritocracy, Starkey made the mistake of thinking that, well, if the white people's statistics, they would drop down. Kofnas quickly jumps in and said, no, I think there was some study done where it would rise by a couple of percentage points. This is just, they just make stuff up as they go along. But if you don't know how to listen when they open their lying mouths, then it just goes over your head, because you've got two crackers, pseudo intellectual, sitting down having a discussion, and it sounds like what they're talking is facts. And unfortunately, so many of our people, especially when they hear these accents, these so-called upper crust, upper class white people having discussions, I'm talking about Starkey, the atypical so-called English gentleman, that type of persona. A lot of our people, man, we hear that, we just think, oh yeah, he must know what he's talking about, not realizing that you're listening to a rabid dog, a rabid racist who hates your very shadow as a black person.
Some study, it would mainly be that blacks are being replaced by Asians.
Exactly.
And even that wasn't a throwaway comment. See, that's supposed to now have us thinking that our competition is Asian people. Our competition is other original people, other indigenous people, brown people. So, you know, and many of us have fallen for this. You got many black people who can't stand brown people, and brown people, Mexicans who hate blacks, and we can go on and on. And you know, it's the system of divide and rule. They have us fighting each other, thinking that we are all in some type of competition while they continue to rule the roost. This is how it works, dear family. I hope everybody is good. I hope you are able to follow what it is that we're sharing. As I said, we're not going to be necessarily a long time. We're just going to get through this because I think it's important, at least to, you know, for those who are concerned about what they've heard in relation to Jason Harday, what has happened to him, that there is some kind of understanding. Dear family, in episode 27 of The Time and What Must Be Done, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, and by the way, that's the clip that I played earlier of the minister, that's from episode 27 of The Time and What Must Be Done. And the title of that particular episode, I believe, is Why Did God Make Devil? Why did God make devil? Episode 27 of The Time and What Must Be Done. And I highly recommend that you go and view that and study that, because it's very, very powerful, very, very deep, and very profound if you want to begin to understand. And episode 28 continues the theme of really breaking down the reality of how the Caucasian came into being. Dear family, the minister says this comes back again to the scripture in the Holy Quran where Allah God says to the angels, I'm going to place a ruler in the earth. If God is going to place him in the earth, he also must place in this ruler what is called the Cronus complex. If God is going to place a ruler in the earth, then he has to give that one that mentality that I've got to rule irrespective and regardless of anything. You see, and that's the mentality of the Caucasian. He must be in charge. This is his mentality. The minister goes on, that idea or thought that he is to be the ruler until the coming of God to interfere with his rule. See, and understand this, family. You know, those of us who think that we can single-handedly deal with the Caucasian and we're going to, you know, we're going to fix up this thing and get, look, man, I'm telling you, family, Almighty God Allah is not a spook. God is real, and he's the one who ultimately is going to deal with that devil that he permitted to come into existence. Understand this. This is a battle that is a battle for God to deal with Satan. Okay? Understand this. It doesn't mean that you and I now are redundant and we can just sit back and wait. It means that we have to develop a God consciousness so that we are aligned, so that we're in tune with Almighty God. You see, so that we can play our role in that process, but understand that only God can deal with this ruler. That idea or thought that he is to be the ruler until the coming of God to interfere with his rule. And that's why it's so difficult for white people to submit to any ruler other than himself. And he struggles with that. He struggles to obey his own laws. He struggles to live alongside his own people. Again, study Europe. Study the European tribal wars that they've had over the years. France versus Britain, Britain versus Germany, and when you study their history, there's never been a moment of peace between them other than when they united to come and destroy black people in Africa and in the East, in the Southern Hemisphere. That's the only time that they can achieve any type of unity among themselves, is when they are fighting against us. But when left alone to themselves, they're just warring against each other. Listen to their language and you will see that I'm not making something up here, man. They cannot submit to anything other than themselves, but even in submitting to their own selves, they have a problem because of that Cronus complex. It is so difficult for white people to submit to any ruler other than himself. So the Cronus complex has to do with one who has this inordinate need to exercise sway, to reign over, to govern. In other words, a feeling of entitlement to rule. I hope you get it, family. I hope you understand. Because, see, because in the absence of this type of understanding, we'll always be making mistakes and be in error because we are expecting some other type of behavior, which will never, ever manifest because the Cronus complex is an integral part of the very nature and makeup of the Caucasian. Even those who attempt to suppress it and pretend that they haven't got that leaning or that tendency, that is their very nature. It was built in to their makeup when they were being made on the island of P.O.W.E.R.
Oh, can I
Go
add
ahead.
to that? This is Our Savior Has Arrived, written by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, the world of the white race is doing what it was made to do, to try the righteous with wickedness and filth. The white race cannot do any better than what they are already doing. So we do not argue and quarrel with them, which they by nature are made to do. I repeatedly teach you this, that you cannot change the nature of the white man unless you graft him back into that which he was grafted out of.
Wow. I hope you're listening, family. See, because like I keep saying, this is the, whether it was Martin Luther King and we're going to love white people into changing, stop it. Stop it. You are wasting your time.
Yeah, right. So you depart Cambridge under this cloud. You obviously then see the appearance of Professor draped in laurels as well as dreadlocks, ARDAY. Presumably,
Just envy and jealousy. How dare you be a professor in our system, but you got dreadlocks and you're coming into Cambridge and you're dressed in laurels as he describes it. It's just abject envy and jealousy, absolute hatred. How dare this black man rise to this pinnacle of success as they see it? Because this, don't forget, they've been chucked out of Cambridge because of things that they've said and done, which are so extreme that even their own white brethren had to take steps because it's just too embarrassing to have these types of rabid racists running around the campus, the university campus. See? But now they're seeking revenge because here comes this young black man who has qualified himself to be within the hierarchy of academia in Cambridge University.
Cambridge under this cloud. You obviously then see the appearance of Professor draped in laurels as well as dreadlocks, ARDAY. Presumably, forgive me, I'm clearly being cursed with DEI, new disease. You decided to run his dissertation through a plagiarism program as an act of vengeance, didn't you?
Of course not.
Oh, come on. Now, let's be honest. You would have never have dreamt of wasting your time if you hadn't thought, this is how I'm going to get my own back.
Well, I mean,
Come on.
to have
Come on.
part two.
We're honest chaps. Let's be honest.
In Act Two, starring with Basker Vera as a supporting character was.
And this is not just how they are at the thought of bringing down this young black professor, where they're so gleeful and they're so happy over the destruction of an individual life. But understand that this is how they are when they go to war, when they are destroying multiple tens of thousands of other human beings who are black or brown or yellow or red in color. Understand this. See, this is what you don't normally get to see this. But this is this is how gleeful, and they'll have a drink behind closed doors when they see their nefarious plans unfolding and manifesting in the utter demise and destruction of other people, family. You see, come on, let's be honest. We're basically, we're in this thing together. Come on, you can admit it. The Iran ARDAY's statistics through some computer program looking for plagiarism. You see, this is what he's saying that this Kofnas did. This is how this whole thing got started.
Of course not.
Oh, come on. Now, let's be honest. You would have never have dreamt of wasting your time if you hadn't thought, this is how I'm going to get my own back.
Well, I mean,
Come on.
to have a
Come on.
part two.
We're honest chaps. Let's be honest.
In Act 2, starring with Bhaskar Vira as a supporting character was an interesting proposition to me. But what happened was a whistleblower at Cambridge, on the Cambridge faculty, contacted me with the story.
Which faculty? Which faculty?
I'm not allowed to say. He doesn't.
You see the way you can never get any actual facts or truth out of these people? A whistleblower contacted me. Okay, who? Which faculty? Oh, I'm not allowed to say. I mean, honestly, family, how anybody can take these people seriously? See, they've got no actual facts. They can't come with actual facts. They can't come with genuine proof and evidence of their claims. In the end, it's just slander. It's just rumor and innuendo. And like I said, these people open their mouth, they say some filth, and everybody runs with it. Everybody runs with it. The white man can say anything, and we believe it. I've been online and I've seen black people who are condemning Jason ARDAY, going along with this filth. See? And everybody talks as if something has been proved against this brother. Nothing has ever been proved. In fact, when it came to the plagiarism accusations, he was exonerated by the university, exonerated by anybody who has looked at this in a proper way. He's never been convicted of anything. The brother just couldn't take all of the scrutiny and all of the accusations and all of the mockery, and it eventually the brother's gone now. He's gone as a result of this, because these people have got this feeling of entitlement to rule, that they have got to manage and control everything and everyone else. So he's running, now looking for plagiarism to try to justify his own racism as to this. Surely this black man could never have achieved any of this on merit. See? Because they're so inferior and we're so superior.
Want to be identified and clobbered by the faculty, by the administration. So, but the rumors about ARDAY became well known after I left Cambridge, which was in September 2025. It was around that time. So I left kind of before it became an open secret at Cambridge that ARDAY was a plagiarist and a fabulist.
It became an open secret that he was a plagiarist and a fabulist. Fabulist meaning, they're telling exaggerated stories or tales about himself. But again, remember what I'm saying to you. All of these things, especially this plagiarism, they've been looked into. And there is no proof and there is no conclusive evidence that can be brought to the table to show that this brother was guilty of plagiarism. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
And as everybody knows, some journalists had tried to write about it and they were intimidated by legal threats.
As everybody knows, some journalists tried to write about it, but they were intimidated because obviously this brother is so powerful that, you know, people who are backing him, or he himself has got such, you know, powerful supporters that they were now intimidating and threatening journalists. I mean, honestly, family, you know, some of this stuff, man, if you ever make the mistake of really falling for this, believing that, you know, it's like, remember when we did the show not long ago talking about the two-tiered police system, whereby now white police are against white people in favor of black people. I mean, are we sick or something? So you got white universities, white establishments now that's going to go out of their way to protect a black man in order to put down other white people. We're sick. But this is how. But this is also when you got people who are just consummate liars. There's not even a boundary to the level of their lies. You see, I think it was Adolf Hitler's publicist, an individual by the name of Goebbels, who uttered that infamous saying that if you tell a big enough lie and keep it going for long enough, people will eventually believe it. And this is the basis on which they operate. They will just tell you barefaced lies, and then they'll repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And then, you know, you got loads of people out there, man. They're not going to look into nothing on too deep a level. They're just surface dwellers. And so that becomes the truth. And then you'll hear it being repeated in the pub, you know, in the restaurant, in the parks, you know, in the library. Two people are having a conversation, they're repeating something. They've got no idea where that comes from. But this is how Satan and his minions operate.
So I had seen the headlines about ARDAY in 2023. I assumed, okay, it's just another DEI hire. So I didn't think
You'd seen the headlines about ARDAY, you know, this young black man who had achieved this magnificent rise in Cambridge University. You know, he's got a professorship, he's this, he's that. Oh man, he must have been, the envy, the jealousy, the hatred was stirred up to such a degree that now he's got to go after this and deal with this, because he, you know, I assumed it was just another DEI hire. See, you know, he had been put in that place because of some favoritism to black people. These people are really sick.
anything of it. So the whistleblower contacted me on June 13th, a couple months ago, and said, "Do you know about these rumors?" And I didn't know about it, and my first response was like, "Well, okay, so there's some problem with the work of an education professor and DEI hire. Like, how is that a news story?" But when I started looking into it, I saw it was much more extreme than usual, and also the cover-up aspect, and all of the people at several institutions who had participated in the cover-up and all sorts of other wrongdoing in connection with this was.
Remember, these are white people he's talking about in other institutions and universities who are all been involved in a conspiracy to cover up the deficiencies and the illegitimacy of Jason Harday. This is what he wants you to believe. These people are sick, man. I'm telling you, the first thing that any university, any institution finds out about a black man, he's out. About cover up. He just could not believe that this black person had achieved what he had achieved. Let's continue. I'm going to stop stopping it.
Was really extraordinary. So first, it was widely known that ARDAY had plagiarized much of his dissertation.
Wow.
From a then student at Brunel University, London, Paula Zwazdayak Myers.
I don't know if I can say the person's name, Paula Zwazdayak. But just understand this, because I'm not going to go into the minutiae of this, to be honest with you, family, because it actually doesn't deserve comment. But suffice to say that that person that he just quoted as being the person whose dissertation Jason Harday stole and plagiarized, according to my understanding, Jason used research that that woman had done prior, and he's mentioned her in his dissertation over 40 plus times, right even at the start, making it abundantly clear where some of this information is coming from. Because where people are doing dissertations, people are doing these types of works within colleges, universities, or whatever. They're not sitting in some vacuum, not looking at what's gone before, who's done what, and he's quoted that he has taken things from different elements or whatever. That's how people build up their arguments in relation to scientific analysis or whatever. So again, this demon is such a liar, trying to give the impression that he took something from another author, from another writer, but he didn't give the credit, or he pretended it was his. He did not. Okay, and I invite you to go, if you want to go into the minutiae, go and study it for yourself, the reality of, the lies that this demon is peddling in this particular so-called interview.
So I started by running, well, first we start with his biographical claims. So he says that he was diagnosed with autism and was nonverbal until age 11. He couldn't even spell his own name until age 18. Then he has achieved these amazing, almost world.
And do any of us know anything about autism, family? Do we understand how gifted some of these so-called autistic people are? And the type of, in one area they may seem like they're lacking or deficient, but in another area they're like, it's just, they just excel, they're just geniuses. But of course, the devil is now trying to dispute what Jason Arday said about his history, his past, when he was growing up as a child, what he went through. Have you heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan explain how when he was a young person, when he was a child, he stammered, he could hardly put two words together? But look at the minister now, look at the millions of words that he shares. Look, who's more articulate than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, of taking complex things and making them plain so that a fool or a young child can understand it. Would you believe that the minister was once inarticulate? See, but this is what the devil is trying to say, that, oh no, surely this can't be true, that in his early years, Jason Harday struggled with expression, being able to speak, etc., because of his autism. I mean, like I said, I don't even know why I feel like I'm really wasting time. Let's just get through this, the rest of this.
Record-setting feats in running. He ran 600 miles in 6 days. He ran 30 marathons in 35 days, has raised more than 5 million pounds for charity. So he's also a
you see, and again, when you're Cain, when everywhere you go, everything you do, you need a cane. See, because you're disabled, because you're crippled, because you can't do nothing. See, when you meet an able-bodied person, a person who can do great things, You can't believe it. Yeah, you can't believe that he has accomplished and achieved all of these things, raised £5 million for charity. Well, that's no big deal compared to what some people can do and what some people have done historically. Why is it so difficult to believe? Why is it so hard? And why can't you bring proof that these things are lies, that he never accomplished these things? Do you understand what some people do? It's like me telling, this devil, tell this devil that I only eat 1 meal a day. See, a devil who maybe needs to eat 3 or 4 times with all snacks in between, and they can't believe, can't understand how anybody can fast and maybe go 40 days without food because they would be dead. See, but just because you can't do it, don't now put your inadequacy across on a black man, on a God, because that's who he is. He is one of the children of God. And you will never understand the capabilities of the original man when he puts his mind to it. It would appear to you to be impossible. But nothing is impossible to the original people. That's what you're going to learn, Caucasian, and you're going to learn that very soon.
Philanthropist as well as an elite athlete, and he after learning how to talk, he very quickly gets these degrees. He has a PhD from Liverpool John Moores University, then rockets up.
Like he gave himself the degrees. He can't get the degrees unless he went through the academia. He went through those systems, and those systems gave him those accolades. But you're just jealous. That's all it is. You can't believe it.
The academic ladder, senior lecturer at Roehampton, associate professor at Durham, full professor at Glasgow, and then when he's 2003, when he's 38 years old,
he's a full professor at Glasgow before he's even 38. But did Glasgow University say no? No, he wasn't. Actually, he's just made that up. No. All of that's been confirmed. See, that's why he could then come to Cambridge and they could put him into this very senior position because the man's got a track record. There's a history of this young person who has gone through all of their academical systems and absolutely excelled. But it's too much for a Cain, a crippled mind full of envy and jealousy to accept. And so you've got to slander and, push your innuendos and push your fake stories that then the mass media picks up and runs with it and then destroys a life. This is what they do.
He becomes the youngest full professor, black full professor in the history of Cambridge University.
Black, yes.
So that's an extraordinary story, which captured people's attention. But anyway, I cast doubt on some of becoming. He's not intelligent in the way that a professor should be, but he's not.
Did you hear that? He's not intelligent in the way a professor should be.
He doesn't look like them.
Yeah, he doesn't look like them. He's not old and gray and white. Wow.
That retarded that he can't speak, right? But he can speak normally, like a normal person.
So
and
insulted.
Yeah.
Acquiring normal speaking ability after being nonverbal up to age 11, from my interpretation of the scientific literature, has never happened before, possibly.
And I mean, not that your scientific knowledge is anything to go by, but who told you? Just because you've never heard of that, you think that you see, again, this is the thing, this is the arrogance where they think they've got some kind of monopoly on what's possible and what's not possible, what can happen and what can't happen. But again, a lot of our people will listen to these devils and will take them at face value like they know what they're talking about.
Agree.
You haven't got a clue what you're talking about, white devil. You haven't got a clue.
and then then learning to read at age 18. It's not clear how that fits with the fact that he graduated from secondary school with 2 GCSEs in physical education and textiles, which are not the most intellectually demanding GCSEs, but you still have to be able to write your name normally in order to take them. So it wasn't really adding up. But I said, okay, I was quite concerned that they're going to drag me to court with a vexatious lawsuit, and then I'm going to have to, and maybe he'll have some fake note from the doctor saying that it's true he was nonverbal, or he'll have some story like.
He was worried that he may have a fake story from the doctor. What's going on with this now? I don't know if you can hear that, family. I don't know if you can hear.
Like, I can't prove a negative that he didn't run 600 miles in 6 days on the treadmill in his home when no one else was looking. And so I just said, like, I don't know about this. Like, it doesn't, it seems like this should be
Stable. Sorry, family. Seem to be having some problems with our internet. Just bear with us. But
I'm just going to focus on his academic work and see what I can find there. So I start running the dissertation through plagiarism detection software, Copy Leaks. It's full of plagiarism, page after page of copied or
yeah, family, just bear with us. We're trying to rectify the situation right now. We've got an unstable internet connection. Or somehow, if you can all hear me. Looks like somebody is not enjoying the show. Has decided to begin some type of spoiling tactics. We shall prevail. We shall prevail, family. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Okay, let's have a look. Mm. Yeah, there's some. I don't know if you can hear family, but there's definitely interference. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Just hold a second. See, this should have connected already, and it's not
So man,
connecting.
switch.
Yeah. Somehow they found a way to interfere with it. Let's have a look. Can you hear us, family? Let's have a look. And, okay. I still can't hear anything. Tracy, Jason said that he ran 600 miles in 6 days. David Goggins ran 444 miles in 26 hours. Sorry?
I can hear you. Could you increase your volume?
Second, family. Bear with us. We don't know what's going on. Just I had to refresh now, but perfect sound. You have to do that. But the sound is good, but it's just very, very glitchy. So, no. Okay. Okay. So what I'm saying, if I think I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to try and reboot family. If you would just bear with us, I'll see how quickly I can get that done, because this is really great what's happening right now. So yeah, I don't know if you can hear, but I'm going to stop it for the time being. I'm going to come back right back, inshallah, God willing. Interference. Mm-hmm. Mm.